All right. Welcome back to the Broadrick podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. Not with me tonight is my co-host, Matt. It's his birthday, so we gave him the night off. But while he's out celebrating with his fiance, I'm going to do a little football tonight, all right? I got Coach Chad Broadrick here from Father Ryan. Coach, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'll do the clap without Matt tonight, so normally we get that. So, Coach, super excited to have you on. We're going to talk a little bit, right? Cover one creepers tonight, correct? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I knew it was creepers. I forgot. I was like, are we doing cover one with it or not? Before we get into it, again, if you're listening, we appreciate you. If you could hit that like and subscribe, it really helps our channel. We're growing lately. We appreciate it with us. Follow us on Twitter at Broadrick. And also go to our website. It's broadrick.com. You can subscribe for free articles. We also have paid now as well, but we write free articles every single week. We include film, all 22, all that good stuff. So if you're in that Broadrick community, make sure you are subscribed to all of our channels. Coach, without further ado, if you want to talk a little bit about how we kind of got on this, and we can kind of roll through the presentation, but let's roll here with the cover one creepers.
Okay. Yeah. We do different things in the defense, obviously, but two of the things that I think, tend to be important at certain times in games is the ability to play tight coverage. So when people play some type of man or different versions of man and affect the quarterback. And so I'm kind of a wimp. We send 5 and 6 some, but my head coach all the time tells me I'm a wimp and won't do it enough. And so we probably don't do it enough because we do get a good amount of mileage out of the stuff we're going to talk about. Before I get into them, I want to talk a little bit about I'll share my screen here in a second, but a little bit about just cover one in general. Not a whole lot, but if you got any questions, if I missed something or you can tell me to talk about something, by all means, let me know. Let's see. And so just to start with, I'll show a couple of 7-on-7 clips and then actually get into the stuff that we're trying to talk about. So I'm assuming my screen's good.
Yeah, if you'll full screen just even that, or it'll help out see it. All right, perfect.
Yep. And so, this is one of our first installs in terms of just cover one. So it's not the first thing we put in. We do put it in pretty early in the install schedule. And so for us, cover one is I'm just going to show the video here in a second, but we're literally playing man-to-man divider leverage. I'll go over what that means in a second. And so the reason I'm starting with this is like right now in the defense, those two guys, have the back. We can do two things there. So we can key it or funnel it. Generally speaking, if we're playing 1Y, we're in a funnel. So actually these three guys, have those two, how they come out. And then the guy left is the low hole player who's going to help on shallows. And I'll show you what that means here in a second as well. And what we're actually talking about tonight, though, we would never play funnel with. We'd play key, so I'll get to that here in a second. And so we just draw it up. If we get motion in these, if it's slow, we run with it. And if it's fast, we spin it. And then for us in the defense, I'll talk about the alignment. But our money, which is just like the wheel, he aligns to the Y. And our Mac aligns away from the Y. And so just some of them playing out here. So if the back's fast, right, the backer's going to take it. He's now the rat. I'll show you the leverage here in a second on film. If we get a shallow from anybody, that player is going to yell rat. The guy that's the linebacker that's left, that's not on the back, is going to say cut, and then he becomes a new rat in the hole. We're trying to double digs and routes like that. And if we're in a funnel, if we're playing key like here, the safeties will play the Y, how he comes out of there. And anytime we say key in the defense, the linebackers know that the tight end to them is invisible. And so that stacks and bunches and stuff. There'll be one on here, and we'll talk about that. So I don't want to talk a whole lot about this part of it. I will, but I'd rather get into the stuff we're actually talking about. And so all the other clips will be game clips that we're talking about. But we don't play a whole lot of this call in games. 1Y by itself, we play all the stuff that we're about to get into. So I did want to show the coverage component of it before we got going. And so, like I said, I think the ability to play tight coverage at times is important, and the ability to affect the quarterback. And none of these will be that, but I do think, you kind of get a picture of, I know I got to play this slower, sorry.
It's actually running pretty well, so you should be good. Yep.
Okay. But kind of at the top here, you kind of get a picture of what we want it to look like for the most part. I would rather have the Mac linebacker here more on his outside shoulder. Our corners to the field here is a little bit, I guess the ball's in the middle, but to the defensive right is a little bit loose. But for the most part, that's what we're trying to get. Just the ability to play tight coverage or playing man. There's nothing fancy about it. There's no shallows here. So the money linebacker in this case is just the free guy that's looking to help and work off the quarterback vision. And so it's important to us at times to be able to do this kind of stuff, obviously in games. And so same thing here. Won't be anything different, but still just across the board doing a fairly good job of playing the kind of coverage we want to play on certain down and distances, and getting certain people doubled that are over the ball. And then this is kind of what the benefits of it are. So in terms of our communication here, one, the front set wrong. So you can tell this is early in camp. We don't have pads on yet. The front should be the other way. But in terms of communication, our safety to the defensive left is coming down, and he's going to say at this point, rat, rat, rat. And our money here is now saying cut, cut, cut. And as soon as that happens, we want that safety to fall off. Okay, and he's going to try to double any dig coming to him or from behind him. And so right here it's behind him. We don't quite get it double the way we want, but you kind of get the picture of it. And so in terms of our leverage on routes, for the most part, we want to be outside and low on the route. We have dividers for the kids based on where the ball's at. If the receiver lines up outside of that divider, then that'll change the play high and inside. We're trying to use our help. So we've got a post safety, obviously, and in this case, a low hole rat. And so we want to funnel the receivers to them and use our help in that regard. So I always tell the kids, like, if this dude's running a vertical stem and he's inside our divider and he ends up running a corner route, if we're playing inside on the guy in any way, then this route can break flat, and that's an easier throw for the quarterback that we just can't quite play. But if you're outside and low hip on the guy, you just kind of run that for him, and it makes it a pretty tough throw. And obviously, if he ends up running a post or a dig, we try to have a guy there to help you. So in terms of any coverage we play, we're trying to give the kids the rules of it in terms of where their help's at and how they should play it. And so
Coach,
some of these, yes, sir.
Your divider rules, they 5-1 bottom?
5-1 bottom.
You guys, okay. Yep. So they're pretty
bottom.
standard ones, right?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
For our star, we'll change that a little bit. We more for him, if the ball's on the opposite hash, we kind of say, hey, the hash is your divider. Like, we're not.
Gotcha.
If he gets wide, we're going to play inside of that. But yeah, for the corners, it's always 5-1 bottom. And I try to keep the star outside leverage, but there's times where we tell him you're going to play off the hash. This one's a little bit tricky in terms of what happens. So you can see our star. I like on film when you can see him doing stuff. He's yelling rat, rat. This is our star, sorry.
Yep.
I'll talk about the communication here in a second of everything. But he's yelling rat, rat, rat. And now the money's going to say cut. The problem is it turns into like this over. The money does a good job of playing it. And now the star can fall off, and there's nothing left to double. And you can see the importance of dividers. This corner down here is the best corner I've ever coached and the smartest one. But he ends up having bad leverage on the route based on where he's at. And, 7-on-7, you get a long time to throw, which I'm okay with. And so we give that up there. But he's a really good football player and usually pretty smart. So, but just you get the point of it, right? We got outside leverage. So when the guy runs a shallow, he's running away from us. We want to have a guy there to help us. So we're going to cut those routes. If we get bunches in cover one, if we were in cover zero to me just means we're bringing that guy. Sorry, say he has the back and we're bringing this one. And we still have a post safety. That's actually cover zero to me. I know it's not most people.
No, I'm a saving guy, so I'm with you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And so we would not want to play the call we're in here, but since we have a rat, we keep it on. So we're playing lock and level. So he's divider leverage, right? Divider leverage and divider leverage. And they're not going to come off of those guys. If we get a shallow like we do, we'll cut it, right? And he's falling off, be the help, and then we've got leverage on all the other routes. And so really nothing fancy, but I think this stuff is important, especially on certain down and distances and third down. And so, if it's third and 5 and you're playing zone and they throw it at 5.5 yards, to me that was my fault, not the kid's fault. And so we try to stay away from that, making it my fault all the time. It is plenty, though. A couple more and then we'll get into it, if that's okay. Same thing's going to happen here. I think we're going to get a shallow, maybe not. So there's the shallow, right? And so there's the star falling off. And so same thing, the MAC linebacker here has really bad leverage on the running back. But for the most part, everybody else is doing a really good job of what they should be doing.
Coach, quick question.
Yep.
And we've always messed with this throughout the years. I ran something very similar to you. When it's really loud and you're trying to make the rat and the cut call, do you guys use any kind of like a hand signal or a trigger when it's just super loud? The kids can't hear it, or they're just so used to working with each other that they just play off it well?
Yeah, we want to say pre-snap, rat alert, right or left if there's cut splits. That's the first thing we want to say. I don't know how often we get that. We get it in 7-on-7, and then Friday nights, kind of like you're saying. I don't know that. Like we'll watch some clips here in a second, which I tell the kids when it's outside linebackers doing the rat's job, which we're about to watch when we get into the other stuff, I don't even count on them. Yell it and just assume they're not going to be there. So first thing we tell them is if you're yelling rat and the guy's not saying cut back and you can tell he's not looking, you just keep running with him.
Yeah.
And so that happens all the time. We get the better matches in 7-on-7. And in the games, we don't get as good of matches. But what we do get in games is better pressure. Correct. And kind of pays off. And so right here, the same thing. For whatever reason, they cut that, and then you get the double on the dig, which is all we're trying to get, right? And so they do a pretty good job of that kind of stuff. Empty, not really going to talk a whole lot about, but I guess this is our money. I guess that's the running back. We just take the money out to the running back. Anytime we get empty and we play not any of these calls we're about to talk about, normal calls, we're going to run a torch stunt on the center because you've got, really box issues. You do anyway in one high defense if the quarterback's as a runner, but especially then. And so we do stuff with the front to fix that. Nothing fancy here. This is the reason why you want to play tight coverage. Our corner down here is not the one we just talked about. It's a really good player. This is 7-on-7, so I don't get too mad. But it's 4th and 10, and we're, playing like that. And so, but he's a really good kid and a really good player. And last one, I think. So we'll tag, when we get in the red area, we'll tag red to calls. And so now this guy plays like a rat at the goal line, and everybody else is doing the exact same thing. We'll play with more inside leverage in this at times. So you see the guys doing that. And so he's going to cut crossers at the goal line, and we're still going to have a rat, which will be this guy. And this was our first day out of camp, and so we're banged up. And this is a sophomore who's going to be really good. And so he should have let the guy get cut. He should have fallen off, and you'll see that it actually it's a pretty good play by our money right here. He gets an interception, which is not why it's on here, but you get the point of this is a good job by this is a senior safety cutting it. He should have fallen off and been the new rat at the goal line. And so we'd have had the guy behind it, like, the other team's kind of getting what they want. That guy's open because we don't play it right and the ball's just low. And so, but it's a good job of the rat, right? He's not getting a cut call from anybody. He's playing off quarterback vision. He's getting depth. He gets an interception. And so, but those are how we match it, right? And the communication, it's really nothing fancy, but I do think it takes time to, playing your leverages right. Again, here I said, we do play more inside leverage when we tag red to it just because of where the ball's at. And so, that's why his leverage is like that. But that kid will show up on here quite a bit playing inside more than he should.
Now, so side question, Coach.
Yes, sir.
I know we're talking one creepers and some of these other things, but do you guys run rip Liz too? Because it feels like
that's our base. Rip Liz is our base. Yep.
I was about to say, because it feels very Rip Lizzy at this point. I know we're talking one, but
yeah, that's our first install is Rip Liz. Now I've gone more, Rip Liz. I used to would have hit myself for even saying this. We don't play fast 3 rules anymore. We won't play Aranda's gone now because of all the creepers. I just like it better. An outside linebacker playing the hook is not quite the same as an off the ball linebacker playing the hook. And so
that's true.
Just because of that, we're playing basically without a fast 3 rule. Everything else is the same. And so this is really what we're talking about. And so just in our defense in general, we, all of these pictures are going to be with 2s. The film's going to be with 3s and 2 eyes. We're getting to where we're running so much stuff that we're setting the front all these different ways just to get into these same looks. And so I'm about to just be done making the kids learn that in this one, set it to the back, and this one to the boundary, and this one to the field, and just play 2s and run the calls. And so that's why they're drawn this way. Maybe I'll regret that. Maybe I won't. And so, like, for us, like the call, it doesn't matter what the call is, but if we were playing Rip Liz creepers, the call would equal or would look the same as Bengals, just it'd be related in terms of a player. And so all of them are kind of built in that way. And so for the kids, there's overlap in the defense and overlap of understanding, and B words mean do certain things. And, this family of calls tells them stuff. Or anytime they hear an NFL team, they know they're playing 1Y. The difference is, and I really can't make it bigger, but we'll show video here in a second, is anytime we say an NFL team, all the coverage is the same, but the safeties have to play key on the Y because of how we're sharing the back. So all that means is right now, if this guy goes this way, this safety's taking him, and he's going middle of the field.
Yeah.
And so,
which with as much as people are doing that with the Y now, right? That 11 personnel Y moving back and forth, or H, or whatever you want to call them, playing one key is super valuable again, right? It kind of went away for a little bit, and now it's back because that guy does so much movement behind the line of scrimmage. So
yeah, and so we, like I said, in 1Y, just in general, what we just talked about those calls, we start out funneling, and then half the time in the season, I'm like, I don't even want a chance that we end up playing key out of all of them. Because of what you just said. And so, yeah, it's been really good to us. And so any NFL team, so what I probably didn't do a good enough job earlier was saying was if we were playing, just 1Y, these 2 backers, right, have the back. And so they're going to funnel him however he comes out. The one that's left is the rat. In this call, the 2 guys that have the back is now the outside linebacker. I call them outside line. I know we're 4 down front, but I call them outside linebackers. If we're in odd defense, they are those guys. And so they learn all the coverage stuff that everybody else learns, the inside guys learn. These two have the funnel on the back. And so it's going to look like in a lot of these clips that this guy's blitzing where he's hugging the back. He's not actually in the pressure. And so we're going to set these calls to the back. So in the film, you're going to see 3s and 2 eyes to the back. But they're going to say Bengals right, Bengals left to the back. Our defensive line and all of our defense goes away from the call unless it starts with a T. So it's a B word. They know they're going to go away. And what we're going to get is a 9 technique that's rushing, and he'll peel the back if he flares. If he doesn't, he's going to rush the quarterback. We're going to get what we call a B scrape. He's going to rush the B gap. If the guard's set to him, we give him a 2-way go on the guard. If it's a run, he plays the B gap, and he spills everything. And so you'll see the running back come and block him in these. In any man call for us and a linebacker's blitzing, they have to spill the back on pass. And the defensive line's going to work away. So this, who's a 2 here, he'll be a 3 in the film. He's going to work a face technique on the center. And then the 2, who'll be a 2-eye in the film, is going to go try to get vertical in the B gap and contain the pocket there. If the tackle sets, he'll take the long way. And on any pass, we want to rush vertical and then go contain, try to draw those guys to us. And then this guy has the back. And so he's going to rush the back. If the back doesn't block anybody, he's going to take him. If the back blocks somebody else, he's going to add on. And if the back were to go opposite like this, then the money would actually take him. The jack would stay in the rush. And so that's how they're sharing him out that way. We play corners over in man calls. We actually play corners over in some zone calls as well. So it's not always a giveaway. And our safeties have the same rule. The Y's on the ball, they got him. If he's off the ball, they just play key and take him how he comes out. And so all the motion adjustments will be the same. If he was going slow motion, the star would run. If he's fast, we're going to spin it and actually stay in key. So now the safety, and who would be the star now there, would still play key on the Y and just stay in the call. If the back flips, we'll flip it as fast as we can flip it. We want to keep it that way. There were some teams this year that did a really good job of knowing kind of what we were doing and moving the back around. And so that becomes difficult. But it was year 2 for us there at Father Ryan, and the kids did a really good job of that. And so up top.
Quick question, Coach.
Yep.
If the Y flips, do you just real quickly flip your Mac and your money?
We do. Now, I'll take it back. We would flip them in one Y. If we were in the pressure and we were in this call, we don't flip them because they're
gotcha.
They always line up correctly. I'll give them that. But the only time I'm really concerned if they do is in too high defense is really why we're doing it that way. We want the money right matched up on the better runner on the tight end. And so in pressure calls, like playbook wise, I don't flip them.
That's true. That's a good point.
But in not pressure calls, we flip them with the tight end. And so here's just an example. The top 2, the back steps up and block. He's going to block our money here. The Mac will add on hug rush. We call it to the back. And so I didn't say this earlier, but the outside linebacker away from the back is playing run. He wants to try to draw the tackle to him on pass. And now he's the rat, the low hole player on pass. If the money blitz is right, nobody blocks him, that's great. Okay, probably a screen. And so if the running back doesn't block anybody, the Mac knows that he's going to hug rush the back. And then the ones you'll get sometimes, right, the back flares to us, we peel it, the back goes away, the inside linebacker away from him will have him, and everybody else stays the same right in the pressure. And so,
and Coach, this is one for, I know a lot of young coaches ask this, why do you hug rush the back? And I think you kind of answered it there, but
yeah, you'll see right here on this clip, they'll see.
Okay, perfect.
And so, we hug rush him because we want to go sack the quarterback, to be quite honest.
Yep.
And we want to eat him up right in protection. So if we were playing just heads one Y, the calls earlier, which we don't play a lot in games, we want to do it to give the defensive line one-on-ones. In this call, we want to do it so the guy that's hug rushing can actually sack the quarterback because he's going to block the other linebacker. And so, right, we're playing the same thing as all the 7-on-7 clips, right? Man should be divider leverage out of all these guys. There's our post safety. Everybody in the stadium knows at this point we're playing, 1 high, which is fine with me. We play a bunch of 1 high. We play 2 high, but we play a bunch of it. And so our kids right now are saying Bengals left to the back. So you're going to have a contain rush, right? A face on the center, B gap and vertical, contain, draw the tackle. There's your rat. He's going to go B gap and he's going to add on to the running back. And it's going to be a pretty good clip of kids doing what they're supposed to do in the call. And so for anybody watching that hasn't done them, like this is why you hug rush the back in these calls. Like if we were just in base one Y, we hug rush the back to give the defensive line one-on-one opportunities and eat the back up. In this one, right, so the linebacker that's first here is blitzing. He knows in any man call for us, so which is a lot of calls, but one of the families is the NFL teams, you have to win inside on the back.
Yep.
And so as he's going right here, he does a good job of setting him up, goes inside. right? Here's our contain rusher. Okay, there's our who was a 2-eye that's now the contain rush away. There's our face on the center. And so kind of what you want to see in these, right? There's 3 guys blocking 1. And no offense to this kid, I don't even care if he watches this. He knows that he did make some sacks, but he knows out of the people rushing, he's the least likely to get there. And so we kind of got what we wanted there. And so if I can get this to play and look the way it should look, this guy is not blitzing. So he is not a blitzer. He has this back man-to-man. And so, but he's running to his coverage. And so because of that, we don't sack the quarterback. And I tell the kids the goal in any of these calls is not to sack the quarterback. I'd love to, but we didn't pay very much for this pressure. This is a 4-man rush that we hit the quarterback on that turns into a 5-man rush from the back, stays in if we do it correctly. And so we get, and those add up in the game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's 3rd and 5. We play tight coverage. We actually get PI here. So they're not all like, I'm not trying to say we win all these, but I actually think it's pretty good coverage. I think at the end, our guy panics a little bit. And so the ball gets thrown there. It's not a great ball because of the pressure. And, I don't mind the call and I don't mind him being aggressive. And so I just think it's a really good clip of kids, being coachable and doing their job. And, it's, I don't want to say this is cheap for us to install. This takes time to get the kids to, you'd be surprised how hard it is to get a kid to run to the back like that. I don't know why it is, but it takes time. And, but in terms of the rush, it's really inexpensive. We didn't pay a lot for that, that pressure. And so that's why we like these calls. That's probably, one of the better examples we had in the season of it. And so, like I said, our goal is not necessarily to sack him, but we want to affect the quarterback. And we did that. And so same thing, right? There's our, we're playing man. And so here's an example, right, of, divider. So he has him outside the divider. So he's inside. There's our post safety. And all the same things, right? So there's contain rush. He's going to end up being the wrap. He's going to face the center. He's going to go contain, B scrape, add on to his coverage. And so it should look, I don't remember if this one's as good, but either way, should look fairly similar. And so the exact same, right? And so this is later in the game, same team. And so what you'll notice now is they're really trying to pass these things off. They got coaches too. And the problem is, they're trying to pass them all off. And, last time 32, the guy, coming second got to him, the quarterback, and he should have stayed on obviously the first guy, but we went inside and, the first guy gets to, go affect the quarterback here. And we do get a sack on this one, which I don't even think is as good of a clip out of us. So kind of weird how that works out, but you see the defensive line, same thing, offensive line trying to work it out. And then we're just doing a good job of kind of drawing them to us, containing him. We're probably rushing a little too far past the quarterback with the actual contained rusher 51. But it's pretty good coverage, right? The coverage is tight. And so we kind of get what we want out of it in that regard. And it is 1st and 10, so I am curious why I called it, but for whatever reason I did. So normally we would have called probably the zone version of it, but we ended up calling the man. And so for anybody watching and not familiar with this, like the only thing different that would be different about the zone version is for us, this guy would become a hook, right? He'd be a hook. So he'd be on the field upright and then matching the pattern. He'd be on the boundary hash. These guys' technique. So if I ran vertical, people would say it's the same. I wouldn't. I would say our technique should look different in, cover 3, rip liz or gone calls and man, but it would look similar to that. And so what we wouldn't get is the add-on. That's what you lose in the zones. You don't get the add-on guy. But we would run the same pressure minus that from it. Same run fits out of both of them. So I like that part about it. We fit all these that we're going to talk about, like their odd space to the defense. And so just if you go back and watch it, right, if this was a run, like there's our, this is your 4-eye, right, or your 3. There's your 4-eye, your 3. It's a backer. There's your 0, right? And so this guy becomes an A-gap fitter. And then for us, the safeties, if the Y was off the ball, would play the C-gaps based on, his flow.
Yeah.
And so we like them. And so all the rest of the clips will be the same of this. So I'll move on to the next one if you want me to, or I'll keep watching. Doesn't matter to me, Coach, whatever you think.
Yeah, let's watch one more. I really like looking at this view.
Yeah. And so I didn't know this. I didn't know every state couldn't do this. We get to use drones in the game. And so
I think they've allowed it here in Florida now, but it wasn't forever, but now they've kind of opened up to it. So.
And so I don't get to see the drone copy during the game, which stinks. But after the game, this is the only one that I really work off of with the kids. There is some problems with this clip. So in terms of we don't do everything right. So I'm fine with everybody's coverage. I'm fine with the ball. I think it might even get completed. Like if they complete that all night, they're probably just going to beat us. Like I'm not mad at that. And so what we don't do right here is we actually want to hug rush. So we do a good job at linebacker. I'm their coach. And so I'll take credit for that. Our head coach is the safeties coach. And so hopefully he can watch it anyway. I don't care. And so he's supposed to hug rush the tight end here. And so what should have happened is he should be adding on to it as well. And so it wouldn't have mattered in this call, but we do want to get that out of the safeties. If they're playing man, tight end blocks, we want them to add on as well. And so,
yeah, but I think it's a great teaching point there about, right, you hug rush the running back, but you also hug rush the Y if he stays in and whoever else. So really, in theory, yeah, it's still only 4-man rush, but in theory, you could get up to 6 guys in the rush there.
Yeah, this should have been a 6-man rush. And so still with the rat, right, still normal coverage. And so that's really why I like them. We do a lot of other stuff, but at the end of the day, this ends up being something that our kids feel good about and that I feel good about, and that we end up calling quite a bit. One of the benefits you'll get if you run these is we don't get a lot of running back screen because it's kind of scary because you're kind of wanting people to blitz on screens so they don't block the linebacker and the linebacker's hugging the back. And so even stuff like this, right, here's an example of the guy peeling, right? He's the contained peel guy. And so he just works off and peels him. We get a penalty on the play, a block in the back, and on top of that, I don't know if the ball's backwards or not. I don't remember. But, you get a lot of benefits of that kind of stuff. We didn't have the right personnel on the field here, which was totally my fault. So our nickel wasn't on the field. I think I put in here nickel defense, but we're not. We're in regular defense. This is the outside. This is the Sam for us. And so we're a little confused matching up there, but they figured it out. And so we run, for example, if we were in regular defense, we would run this call. We'd call it Cincinnati. So the kids weren't completely freaked out and kind of knew what to do. But yeah, that's one of the benefits of running these calls is, you just kind of end up pretty decent on your screens in the back and stuff like that. We'll do this one and then I'll stop, and unless you want me to keep going. So we were going to run a different call. I can tell you what it's going to be. We're going to watch it here in a second. Just by looking at it. And so same thing, right? Now this actually ended up getting a completion on this, but it is a good look, kind of what we want to do. Right there's so let's talk about this one. And so if the back flares, right, and it's actually dropped back, so he's going to peel him. I didn't talk about this, I don't think. Right there's your B scrape. He becomes the contained rush now. And so he's going to do that here. Just it's obviously he just runs away because we kind of get there. And so they actually get this completion. But again, I tell the kids all the time, like, no, our safety, who's a really good player, in my opinion, really smart kid. He's going to make a lot more money than I've ever made. Really smart kid, wants to be an engineer. Ends up having bad leverage and bad eyes right there, right? He, looks back, bad leverage, bad eyes, and now he's kind of lost him. He's chasing him. And so that's still, man, that's a tough throw. And so
that's
good
a
catch.
Heck of a throw
I know.
Catch,
and so we could have played it better. That's the only thing on the sideline. You're like, dadgummit, dude. But yeah, sometimes you just pat the team on the butt and say, good job.
Yeah.
Our kids aren't gonna be perfect, but I do think it's a good look everywhere else, even at him. I don't think it's terrible. But like, there's the tight coverage you're looking for. It's 3rd and 6, right? So there's your, your dig doubled. And so the coverage is tight everywhere. I mean, at this point, he's in good shape. His eyes are in, a bad spot right now, and that's what gets him beat. But that's really what we want out of this call, right? We got the quarterback off the spot.
Yeah.
We're playing tight coverage, and, we just lose the down right here. But, it's been one of my favorite calls. It's probably my favorite one we're going to talk about is that one. So anybody familiar with, with a lot of this stuff, it's Spike, Bobby, and Buddha is probably the 3 main words it's known as. These are all practice clips. We'll run this call out of 6-up stuff and 5-up stuff, and we don't got to watch any of that. It's the same thing, same rules. So for our kids, like, we just teach them what, gum is double mug in the B gaps, and load is this, and mug is that, and boss is this, and you run from the same spot. And so it's all the same stuff, right? And so that's probably my favorite one. This is my favorite one when I don't know, like it's 3rd and 3 maybe, and they're a team that, it's kind of balanced in that down and distance, or even 1st and 10, I like this call. But it's the same thing. We're going to build odd defense out of it. So the blitzing linebacker here becomes the 0 nose, right? And the 2 inside guys become the 3s or the 4 eyes, and the coverage is the same. So it's an NFL team. Okay, the zone version of this for us would be something related to that team. And then the coverage is all the same. And so you're going to get the same benefits of it. I'll skip to the bigger view of this. And so if we're looking at all these, like, here's your, the outside linebacker now. So these guys are your contained players, right? There's your blitzer. We call it a VTech on the center. He's running at the face of the center. And then he's going to work opposite of where that face goes, basically. And so the add-on guy now is the outside linebacker. So this outside linebacker has the running back man-to-man. If the running back steps up, it'll look just like the hug rush of the other inside linebacker in the clips we just watched. And our money now, or the inside linebacker opposite the back, is the rat. And so our outside linebacker away is actually going to balance the rush. So we're letting this linebacker that's blitzing have a two-way goal in the center. We want him to go win. And so because of that, right, he can end up in either one of these spots. And so we need somebody to kind of make the rush right in terms of, we teach the kids, right, that's where you're rushing on the quarterback. And so we've got to make that right. And so his job is to make this right. And so it turns into like these 3- and 2-man games that you're just building in automatically. If this was run, this outside linebacker would not go do that, right? He's for us a dent player in the run game, and on pass he balances it out. This outside linebacker is a dent player. On pass he becomes the rat if the back's away. So in this one, right, the back goes opposite. The money shares the back. He's got to do the money's job, so he doesn't get to go add on to the back. And so same thing, you do it, and the back doesn't block anybody, you take him, which is why it's good, right, versus screens. And so, I like this one a lot. There'll be more run clips in here. I probably won't watch a whole bunch of them unless you want me to, because we end up calling this one probably more than the rest of them just because I think it's safe. I like these calls. We're a big, tight end. When tight ends are over, we're a big corners over team with it. We're in man right here, so we're corners over anyway. He probably should add on to the tight end here. I'm sure. I bet he don't. But everybody else will be right. And so we get the VTEC on the center. Right. This is going to look kind of, I don't know what it looks like to people that don't run them. It looks like our outside linebackers are both just running like weird stunts, into the middle of the defense here. And so, right, we're playing the same thing. Man. We got, the leverage we should have right now in man. And, there's our post safety. And so this guy has the back. And so he's going to go to where the back goes. He wants to make it a game. So we're going to get this. And so we want to rush and make that a game, a 2-man game there. And then off of this, we really like it when this becomes like a 3-man game and he's balancing out the rush, which is, I don't know if it happens on this one or not, but you get this pocket that's breaking down. It looks kind of weird, but it's a really good job by our kids kind of doing what they're coached to do. The outside linebacker to the defensive left is trying to go get to 18. And so he's rushing to 18. He doesn't really he's not thinking sack the quarterback because he can't tell if 18's blocking. The outside linebacker to the right is trying to make the inside linebacker blitz in the face of the center. Right, based on whatever he's doing. The two inside guys are, for the most part, just tell them to be unselfish and, try to draw people to you and go contain. And so same thing, the coverage is tight. It's not perfect. The middle of the field safety is definitely not perfect. But we play a lot of man and the kids get comfortable with it. And, the one guy that's really wrong in this picture, again, it's the head coach's fault. He should be hug rushing the tight end and we'd be adding another guy into this pressure. And so I like this one a lot, just because I feel like it's my screen's not going to work. The safest one we got. I don't think I skipped one there. So do I need to explain anything more on that one, or I'll keep watching the clips? But
no, I love, like you said, it turns that almost natural, double pop, basically what it does when the back steps up, and it's just such a nice, like you said, it turns into what the offense thinks is, like you're calling, a couple 2-man games and bringing a backer. And really, like you said, you're running one thing, right? Your kids are just reading it and going. So I'm a big fan of this one.
it's a 1-word call for us. All these are. And
that's the even better part, right? Like how quickly can you call this? Well, it's Bucks.
Yep. So. And, so right here, all the same, right? 51. This is 51. He has the back, right? And so I like it versus run, by the way, too, right? This was run. There's your B gap player.
Yeah.
Okay, there's your B gap player, your an odd defense, and there's actually your nose. So that would become our nose, and then he'd be the A gap fitter right off whoever becomes the nose. And so they've just been, I don't know, these calls in man or zone and different coverages behind them have been really good to us because of simple stuff like that. We're fitting it like it's odd defense. We're not putting in, it's not like every pressure is a new run fit. We fit them like it's odd defense, and so for the kids, that part's pretty easy.
Yeah, like I believe it was Dan Lanning who said it, right? It's Build-A-Bear.
That's right, Build-A-Bear defense. Yep.
You're in basically a bear front for the run here, but then obviously based off the pass, you're going to end up doing different things. But that's the stimulus that changes your reaction. But until then, you're a bear front.
Yep.
But you've accomplished that by sitting in an even front, which definitely confuses offenses. So
yeah, and so when I'm trying, like people are like, "Oh, you're an even front." I'm like, "Well, no, I don't consider us an even front at all."
Yeah.
Because we hardly ever, like I said before we started, line up and play. Just the regular version of this. I don't have hardly any clips of us. Maybe that's bad coaching. I don't really know. I don't have hardly any clips of us playing this call as what we watch in 7-on-7 in the game. It's all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, in this clip, most of the kids are doing what we want to do. It is 4th and 8. And so right on the fringe of when we want to be in it or don't want to be in it. And so, it's weird. Like this kid over here, I promise he's a genius. That's on this guy. And this guy really struggled more in this game. But this is what it should look like over here to the boundary. This looks like we're playing Rip Liz. And so we don't want, I want to be able to tell what the call was without me even knowing it. And so the problem is everybody else in the defense is right. The smartest kid on the field, or one of them, is not playing it right. And it's 4th and 8, and that ball could have been completed. And so I don't know. That's 2 in this game for him, right? We had to travel to Memphis. Maybe that's what it was. But
now, when you guys, I'm curious, just again, off topic question here. When you guys play Rip Liz, do you press bail in it, or do you kind of play it like you do now with the corners off, or is it just week to week?
Yeah, we do not press bail at Father Ryan. When I was at Gallatin, we always press bailed. And so for whatever reason, these 2 knuckleheads out here, like, they're the smartest corners I've ever coached. So I try to be understanding of that, and the 2 best I've ever coached. And so I kind of gave them some freedom as long as, they ended up doing what they're supposed to do. But no, we don't press bail, or we didn't press bail at Father Ryan, not because I don't want to, because them 2 dudes would hardly ever do it. They would press bail more in like eyes coverages and stuff.
Yeah.
And we hardly ever called that because I'm a wimp. But they would do it more then. But yeah, you can see we get the rat there, doing a decent job off the quarterback's vision. Just the one guy that's wrong is where the ball goes.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's terrible. It's high school football. I know he's not perfect. But I want to be able to tell by the technique he's playing that we're in man, where he should look more like the guy into the boundary. And that's the leverage we want. Like if you're looking at the slot into the boundary, the weak safety here, I guess that's our star. He's like when you watch this route, this is why we play one high and play divider leverage, right? Right now, if he runs a dig, it's going to get doubled. If he runs a post, it's going to get doubled. If he runs a corner, he's got the route beat.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're trying to get out of all that. And so it's a really good job by him on that play. A lot of the rest of these, this one I don't think are going to be runs, and I won't watch a bunch of them unless you want me to.
Let's see some run fits.
I think this is pass. I think the next one is run. And so there's an example. We do get the rat in the cut here. The reason we get it is in this call. One of the other reasons I like it is it's a linebacker, right, playing the rat.
Yeah.
And so the rest of them we'll watch tonight won't really be that. And so we kind of get we don't get as good a cut calls in this. So the corner is a really good player, and so he probably didn't trust it. And so he should have fallen off and doubled that dig behind him. And so we should have had the dig doubled here. But still, it's pretty tight coverage. And by the way, the guy running the dig's really, really good. He's going to play in the SEC. So he's I'm not overly mad at the guy covering, who's also a really good player. But again, you get the benefit of it, right? We rushed 4. We're adding a guy on because of the back. And actually, we don't add him on. So this is an example of, right, the back doesn't have anybody to block. And so our guy notices he's not his hips aren't sinking. He's not engaging anybody. And we take him man out of there, the guy, the outside linebacker to the boundary. And then the outside linebacker to the field is doing a good job of balancing the rush right off the blitzing linebacker. And so I think they called grounding here. I don't remember.
They better have called grounding.
They better have
Coach.
called right.
I'm in my head
you would
right
think,
here.
right?
I'm going, that's grounding. That's grounding.
That's right. And
it's a game that probably happened months ago, and I'm in my head going, that's grounding.
We played really good in the first half. This is a really good football team, and didn't play as good in the second half. But they're really good, got really good players, really good coaches. The Hasselback brothers are coaching there now, so they do a good job. Here's some runs. This is the first game that we played. Not a great team. No offense. And so, we're playing key, and there's an example right of the safeties fitting off the Y. So if you look at the 2 safeties here, 12's going back. So they're going to go fit him right. And so they're the C-gap players in the defense. Our best player on defense didn't play this game, just kind of to be safe in terms of he had an injury, probably could have played, but we didn't really want him to. And so the other linebacker is really too fast right here. The guy that's blitzing is the one to the back. So we're getting odd defense here, right? And so this is an A-gap fitter, but we don't want him to fit it fast because we want the ball to cut back like it does. And so when you just run up into the center, you get blocked. If you be patient, their angles are taking them to the left. We want you to fall back to our left, opposite of them, because we're going to trust the ball is going to be cut off. And so, but there's a bunch of them on here. And so I know people are like, well, we would never not block the blitzing linebacker. And you'd be surprised. You'd be really surprised. And
especially when he ends up on the backside, man. That's one of the best bang for your bucks right there. Bringing that backside guy, through the, quote A gap. I mean, that wrecks power. It wrecks, just like you said, this looks like outside zone here. I mean,
Yeah, and
It's
so
a
you
good
can see
bang
we
for your
really
buck
get
on a
beat on the
pressure.
perimeter. We don't take them on well. Their tight ends are really good, and so we should be wiping across everybody here. We're trying to, but we kind of lose on the perimeter in a lot of ways, and get a tackle for loss out of it because it's just tough, man. Like, because we tell the kids offensive line won't notice your depth, but they will notice your demeanor, and so we don't want to be showing that we're running up there getting ready to blitz on these. We want to snap blitz. So you can see them doing a pretty good job of
A great job
right now. You can't tell we're blitzing, and it's a snap blitz, and so
he
it happens
goes
all
too,
the time.
Coach. I tell you what, I don't know what you're doing with him. You're doing a great job because boy, he fires off. Man, he's through
Well,
there.
This kid, man, he transferred in, and we're not. It sounds like, oh, he transferred in for football. He's going to Colorado to like hang out with his buddies. When, he's not, and so he just plays hard, and so he's
Yeah.
going to do some stuff wrong here in a little bit. But it's like he'd play so hard that I'd be real mad at him Monday through Thursday in practice on Friday night. So just good job, man. Your effort's unreal. So yeah, and so you get a lot of these, and anybody that's from around here knows that Innsworth's a good football team. This is not a slap team that all this is happening versus. And so we really wanted to call it a bunch versus this team because of what we thought would happen. They were going to run one back power out of this, and we just thought we had them. And so, 22, the guy that we're just talking playing hard is not the blitzer here, but he's kind of fitting it too fast. But we get the ball right there. We'd like to get it, kind of cut off and tackled, obviously. But you get him to stop his feet, and you give us a chance. And so, there's a bunch of them in this game. We were going to call it a bunch. We knew we were, and so. Again, you get him to stop his feet, and this is a better job of like I said, I was at Father Ryan. This is my second year. Here's the blitzer now who probably did a better job blitzing because of what you said how hard he played. But this kid understood really how I want to play stuff. You can see he's patient, so he knows.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason for me to run into this. I'm going to fall back if I need to. He starts to. Ball goes back. He's trying to fit it, and so again we get the play played, and something really inexpensive for us that has been good. This is into half, and so we kind of I don't want to say too much. Just kind of. When they got in certain looks, we felt really good about calling this. And so I'll watch this one and then be done unless you want me to keep watching them. But it's the same stuff, right? And so we do a better job here kind of wiping over the blocks, even without the blitz, kind of getting it fixed on the sideline. The only guy that's really doesn't do a good job is he's the 2-eye here, needs to wipe over. But everybody else, the outside linebacker, does a great job on this one. And so you just end up getting stuff like this where – I know everybody says, we'd never let it happen, but it's good football teams it happens versus. You can dress it up, 5-0 stuff. This is the only thing we really run out of it. I don't want to show a bunch of practice clips. I want to see everybody see us doing it in the game. But, there's a pill on the back, and then, you just build 5-0 out of it and run all the same rules. There's your 3-man shoves, which I like it out of this. We can get it where it's that, and you get, you're going to make it, the 3-man shove that way. I really like building it. Out of that. So that's that one. Been really good to us. This is my favorite one if we think it's going to be full slide stuff. So we get a decent amount of full slide because of all the stuff we do. And this is kind of our answer to full slide stuff. So a little bit more expensive maybe than the other two, but it's been really good to us. And so we're going to call it to the back. And all these, the front will be set away from the back in this one actually. And so we're going to have an edge blitzer to the back. We'll peel him out of the linebackers. And then another hug rush guy. So it'll be the same as Bengals for the hug rush guy. He got the same rules as Bengals for him. And then the outside linebacker to the back is actually going to go slant or track. We call it a track on the tackle. He's going to be a B-gap player eventually. But he's going to read the guard as he does it. And so if the guard is to him, he's going to cross the center. If the guard is away, he's going to stay in his B-gap. The nose has to stay in the A-gap, and then the tackle away is going to cop, and the outside linebacker away is the rat. And the share of the back is still is now between my two guys. And so back goes opposite. He's going to take him. He stays on as an edge blitzer. And if you get normal stuff, right, full slides, what we're trying to call it for, stay outside, hug rush inside on the back here, and then you end up getting 2 on the back, right? That's our goal in all these is end up with 2 on the back. That's what we'd like to do. And so this one was really good to us this year for certain teams. Run fits would be the same out of it. And so this is a really good example of it. Now, we did a bad job at times of like this guy, he's the guy reading this to that. And so we'll mess that up a good bit, just to be honest. I don't know if we do here or not, I can't remember. But these two guys are going to do a really good job of kind of, getting 2-on-1 on the back here. And so the coverage is good, right? We end up with the right leverage. This is corners over, so that's our corner. who ends up in perfect leverage, but you can see pre-snap has terrible leverage. And so he ends up right. And so there's our rat. That's exactly how we want to look on the routes right now. He's a little high. But it's a really good job out of them. And then, we get the guard to set away. So he should try to stay vertical. Sorry. He wants to stay vertical in this gap now. And then we're getting, 2 on the back. And so if we get full slide, this is one of our better answers for it.
This is a savvy hug rush right here. Not enough people notice this, I think, but his ability to be under control and then accelerate here is just a really good job for a high school kid.
Yeah, and what we talk about, I'd like him to run maybe a little bit harder to the back, but not much. I think he's doing a great job. And then what we talk about is when you see this guy's right now he's your man. So right now, this linebacker, that's his guy. And so, but we talk about when his hips sink, you can start thinking, you're adding on to the quarterback. So you can see him. There's a noticeable change in his speed in a good way when he sees his hips engage and he's going now. And,
I think he does a really good job there, man.
Yeah. And then so 22, you'll watch him in a second. He's going to do a lot of wrong. So he, man, I love this kid. But I guarantee you earlier in the game, he went inside. And so I had the pride to yell at him. And he almost does it there and he stays out there. And they actually call this a sack. They should have called it intentional grounding, but we'll take it either way. But they gave us a sack on it. And so, but again, the point behind it is right. It's 3rd and 6. And so exactly when we want to call the call. And so we're playing tight coverage, and the guy that's a little bit open is getting doubled right by the rat. And so, good job by the kids all the way around.
My favorite is the slot there who thinks he's open and raises his hand.
Let's see. I didn't pay attention.
And it's the nickel or the corner over just is in the hip pocket of 13 here. Watch 13 raise his hand. Or no, I'm sorry. It was the outside guy. That's my fault. The corner's just right in his hip pocket. Yeah. I mean, he's raising his hand. It's like the guy's touching you.
Yeah. And so one of my favorite ones. Here you go. We'll start getting some of 22's mistakes. He'll watch this and be like, this is like practice dealing with this guy still. And so he just wants to win. So I give him that. Like he just wants to win. And so 22 should stay outside. I say 22, like everybody can see his number. This guy should stay outside. And so he just sees an opportunity. He ends up going inside. The good thing is that guy's really smart. So he would make him right. And, again, I said we'd probably mess this up. This guy, so what really would make it right here, so he's slanting, right? Or we call it a track, not really slanting. But he's working to the B gap. If this guard sets to him, he should actually wrap behind the nose right to that A gap. And so we'll get that some in some of these clips and some we won't. And so, if he would have, you at least make 51 bang back on you, or you get to go add on to the quarterback, obviously. Yeah. This quarterback throwing the ball right here is going to be a stud. He's just a sophomore. And so in this game, and he was a tough kid. We knocked the crap out of him this night. And by the end of the game, he was still there honestly playing better than he did early. And so he makes a mistake here, but he's a really good football player, in my opinion. And so anyway, you see the point of it, right? 31's going to hug rush. 31's the other inside linebacker, sorry. And so he's trying to make everybody right, and he sees an opportunity just to go. And so we don't get there. We don't really affect him. But I always tell the kid, like, if the ball's going to come out quick, it's not really your fault. We're not sending 6 here. We're not even sending 5. And so, but the coverage is, the way we want it to look for the most part. Again, the same kid's probably scooching too much. Everybody else is really where we want them. They're 2 better players for this team were the slots. And so our corners knew that they had to win all night. And so they're going to press. And we played a bunch of cover 7 versus this team where we were doubling the slots in bracket. And then if they were in 3x1, we were in Steeler and Poach because we knew our corners could win. But it's a good job by him. We don't score, I don't think. And so same thing, right? We're playing man. They'll end up getting lined up here in a second. We'll set the front off the back eventually. And so, like I said, last year we were not 2 twos ever. So we didn't want to play any other stuff. Where this year I'm really leaning more towards that. So you're going to get, out of this, that's your rush. That's your cop player, right? That's your guy that's going to read it. It may end up there. It may end up there. We don't call it a contain rush, but that's your contain rusher. And that's your hug rush. And then, you're going to play tight coverage, right, everywhere else with a post guy. And so play the run, and then there's the rat. And so I don't even know if this is a good one or not, but there's kind of your point. Here's 22. So, like 20, like here he is, right? He's just got to stay outside, and we're going to win. And the crazy thing about him is he do all this crazy stuff, and I don't coach any of this, and he ends up winning, on his own. So it just actually quicker his way. So maybe I need to shut up and do what he tells me. But everybody else is doing a really good job in the clip. And so the only thing that should have happened, right, he should have stayed there, and then he's going to go add on to the back. So if they would have blocked it like this and he'd have stayed there and he went inside, he'd have added on, right through here.
Yeah.
That's how that have played out if it didn't go that way. And so, we do affect the quarterback. I think we'd affect him if we did it right. We affect him even doing it wrong here. Not what we want, and so you just make the kid make tough throws all night. And so, it's not the best coverage. We know we lose on the route, but when you affect the quarterback, you give some kids a little bit of a chance to get back up there, and, we almost get a pick out of it. And so we'll dress this one up like the rest of them. Starts fast here. This is a really good football team. That dude's playing at Tennessee now. And this dude will probably be playing at Tennessee pretty soon. And so this team did a good job of knowing, I guess they knew, they would start the back here and free release him, which just makes us, know our share rules. It's not like it's the biggest deal in the world. So, like right now we're in, that's the linebacker. We're trying to create 6 up. So now it's, more of a simulated look. There's still your rat. There's your cop. There's your guy reading it, B to opposite A. There's the guy staying here, and there's your contain rush. And so this guy now can't hug rush, right? So the back's going to go. So this linebacker's going to take him. It's 3rd and 11, so I'm a little bit surprised we were in this call for whatever reason we were based on the game plan. And so what we do is we do affect the quarterback. And so, there's a free runner at him. The guy in this look that was normally the 5 that's playing like a 4-eye now.
Yeah.
Because the look is a free runner. And so the ball comes out. And so, our best defensive player probably is the guy running to make the tackle here. You don't make it. But we do it again to stop his feet. It's 3rd and 11. They get 5. We get off the field.
Yep.
And so didn't play it perfect. But I still think, there's value in it. And so that was one of my favorite ones from this year. I'll try not to watch anymore. I don't remember if this is a good one or not, but I'll sprint out. So sprint out, at least you're getting, right, it's not the greatest leverage out of our star here. He loses. We do not want that to happen. If you're looking at third, number 13, our star, that's not where we want to be on the guy. Right there in the route. But you do get out of these, at least you get a guy, to pull the quarterback up on this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I don't want to watch the practice ones unless you want me to.
No, you're
not as fun. Actually, this is a good look. These are the backups, so good when the backups can do it right. And so these are the 2 backup linebackers right here. And so we're saying, Broncos to the right. And so there's your contain rusher. We don't call him that. We call him based on the back. He'd be a bullet here for us. And there's your read guy. And so they're doing a good job. And the hug rush out of the linebacker here's a really good job. I don't care that we won. We should win. This is the second team defense, I think, and the scout team offense. So I'm not saying, but I do think it's a good job of this kid being coachable and doing what he's supposed to do. Yeah. He's adding on to the back and has good speed about it. And, pretty good job there, or good look at what it should look like anyway. We have called this one less and less every year. And we may do it a little bit different than everybody, but cross dogs.
Yeah.
And I'll draw it. I'll look at it here. And so these bottom 4 boxes, how we're going to share it. So the outside linebacker's playing it like it's Bucks for us, so he's going to trace the back. So he's got the back however he's got to do it. If he flares, he's taking him. If not, he's bouncing the rush like the last one. Should look at a game. We normally send the first guy to the side of the back. It's kind of our base rule. So unless we've game planned it otherwise, in all these pictures, I think there's one where we do it the opposite way. The first guy to the back's going to go, and we let him VTech. A lot of people send him the A-gap to the back. We still let him VTech to keep it the same as Bucks. And we let this guy work as the kind of the balance guy, off of him. And so the rat's away here. And so if you're looking at it right, he's tracing the back, he's the rat, but they're going to share him. So when this back goes opposite here, he becomes the guy that takes the back, and he'd become the new rat. The 2 inside guys are copping like it's Bucks. He's running it just like it's Bucks. And then he's kind of the second guy that's balancing the rush out, if you will. It's not what we tell him, but in terms of to make it the same as Bucks. And so it's been good to us as well. I don't like this one. If it was run, I'd rather call Bucks. And so we end up calling Bucks a lot more because on run, we want this to look the same as Bucks. So we tell the other guy, the second guy here on run, you're not even a blitzer anymore. So we get the ball cut off, be patient. And so, right, if we're looking at this, B to cop, he's going to trace the back. And so if the back steps up, he's going to work to him, VTech the center, work off of him, and then play run right to rat, try to draw the tackle to. You probably don't do a good enough job that sometimes. Coverage all the same. Should be playing tight coverage here. And so the reason we let the first guy VTech and we don't just send him to the back is for this. So we want him to have an opportunity to win too. And so you'll get, a lot of times in high school, you'll get the guy chasing back. And so now we've got like nobody, we're trying to get 2 on the back. We've got just a free runner at it. So and that's kind of the reason we do it, but you don't have to do it that way. You can let him go A gap to the back or A gap opposite the back. It don't matter. As long as the second guy can work and make him right, you end up in pretty good shape. And so they can go the same A gap, by the way. So like if, for example, if this was a full slide or a half slide team that cross protects, and so this center didn't come back and he went here, he would come right behind him. So we get 2 on the back
yourself, right?
Yeah. And so they can go the same A gap on pass. They don't got to go opposite. And so I think here we bring it opposite the back. I don't know why, if we did it on the sideline or, it's 22 going. So he may have just said, coach is stupid. My way's better for all I know. And it actually works out. And so he's going to go VTech, and 31, who was a little more savvier of the two in terms of been doing it a while, is the second guy. And so, again, you just, you make the quarterback work. And so it's second down. And so I felt like he's passing. I didn't want to give him 5 or 6 here.
And I think the other importance of this is, like you said, it's immediate and it's now and it's through the A gap. Quarterbacks don't like that, right? They're throwing while retreating now, and that's a great place to bring pressure. I'm not saying all the time. I love the edge blitzes and I love bringing DBs and all that, but there's something to be said about pressure through the A gap and its effect on a quarterback, coach.
Yeah, we called it less this year than last year. I don't really know why, but we just did. And so, but I like it a lot, and we, the kids like it. And so all these are mostly our inside linebackers blitzing. Like you said, we bring DBs, and so I think it just makes, I don't know, if I was a kid playing, I'd like to do some of this stuff. So I think they enjoy it too. I think when kids enjoy doing it, you kind of get a little more out of them at times too. This is an example, kind of what you asked earlier. What happens in a game if the guy's yelling rat? And I can promise that kid right now is yelling rat. He's going to Navy to play corner, so he's smart. And, this is the rat, and he's the outside linebacker. So we always tell the kids in any of the NFL teams, just assume you may not get it. And so we don't get it. We do get the dig doubled, which is what we want, just because he's there. But he's got to chase it. And so he does a good job of not giving up on it, realizing, the rat's not there. So that kind of answers your question. We're definitely not perfect. And we just keep running. So if nobody takes him, you just keep running. And that cost us at times. We gave up one versus Innsworth for like 25 yards where we should have cut him. And we didn't, and we just couldn't catch the guy. So here we kind of get, it's thrown behind him enough that we can get there. And so, but
if you can't tell, I asked that question because I've been there too, Coach. I'm like,
that's right.
We struggle with this in loud environments. What's the answer? And I don't know if there's ever really a good one, but
yeah. And so we'll do this out of single mug and double mug, and so what we do out of this, we don't just let them go their A gap. We want to pick and roll off of it, or almost like a torch stunt. And so center's away. We don't get the best pick, but the second guy is the guy that was in the system for 2 years. And so he's savvy enough to kind of realize and make it right. 22 is just trying to go win. That's all I can think about. But he does go inside enough to help out a little bit. Everything else is the same. We're going to peel the back now because he's out, so don't trace him. There is kind of your rat and your cut. So he gets it now. The same kid that didn't get it in the last game got it in this game. The problem is the kid he's chasing now is going to play in the SEC. And the guy throwing it to him is actually already at Tennessee. This is this year. He's an early enrollee, and he's unfortunately for us, a really good player. I guess good now for Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
But we do enough to affect him, and it's not like this is a slouch kid. And so releasing his face is a really good job by the second blitzer of rolling behind it. And so again, we just hope these hits add up in games enough to affect them, and definitely open there. But I promise that's one of the best receivers in Tennessee running it, and probably the best quarterback in Tennessee throwing it. This is this game, it rained the whole time, so we don't have a good shot of it. Which is single mug look now, and so one of the linebackers is over the center, and it's all going to be the same after that. This is kind of I never had this happen before. So the outside linebacker is tracing the back, right? He's going to do like he should do. It's going to look like that. And the back actually blocks, or at least it looks like he does. He just misses. And so he goes to add on to the quarterback, and then we have a rat there, which helps. But I've never had it happen like that, to be quite honest. And so almost got a little bit scary. And so this is a scrimmage, a really good team in Murfreesboro. But the same thing, there's nothing, we don't get the best cop right here, I don't think, out of the inside guys. This is early. but everybody else is pretty good in terms of the inside guys. Sorry, the two blitzers. So there's your VTech on the center does a good job setting him up. The second guy's working off of him, and then the other guy's adding on to the back. And so you just affect the quarterback again. He makes a bad decision, and then I promise these kids are good football players. Kid's going to Navy to play, and I don't know, he couldn't catch the ball there. Pretty good receiver too. We actually are in key here, but not aligned right. So you can see they're signaling key for us. I don't know why they're aligned like I guess they just had a feeling it was going to work out this way. But if this guy would have come back, he would have taken him and he'd have ran to the post. But they're already kind of spun down to it, but they're signaling the right call. I don't want to watch the practice ones unless you
No, you're good.
And so this is the last one I got on here. I didn't talk about this with any of them. Let's see if I got the good shot of it. And when we get empty, we play some of these versus empty and we check out of some of them versus empty. I didn't go over that when I was going through them. So like Bengals, we would run versus empty, and Broncos, we'd run. So anytime that one of the linebackers is hug rushing the back, we play that versus empty because that would be him right on the back.
Yeah.
So we just let him go out there. Hey, you're hug rushing the back, go take him. Anytime it's not the inside linebacker hug rushing the back, we check out of it to this call. There's really nothing fancy about it. It works out a lot like Bucks would. And so we just make a shove call. And we check out of it. Playing man here. This team has really good receivers. You can tell we're pretty scared of them at some spots. That dude's worried about 11. Sorry, 11's the really good one. I think I said 5 earlier. I think 11 was the stud. But same thing. This is a really good quarterback, and we're going to affect him. I would have loved in this case. We really want on these the shove to go here, there, and to create that. And there's your cop player, and there's your rat, right? So it's the same as Bucks in a lot of ways. But the inside linebacker wants to win. It's 22, and so he's going to win on the center there. And either way, the guy's smart to know he's going to bounce the rush off of him. And so you get that right. And, again, we affect the quarterback. The coverage is not. It's one of our worst ones because we were, we're pretty worried about some of these guys. And you can that's a good football player, but that's a special football player.
Yeah.
And so the technique is terrible. The leverage is terrible. Everything about it is bad. But he holds the ball, thank goodness, in this clip. And so the pressure didn't cost us a lot. We get to affect him. We didn't play the coverage very well. And so kind of worked out in that regard. But I think that's the last clip I got on here, but I can go back over anything or any questions or whatever I missed.
No, I love it, Coach. I mean, for me, if you're listening and you don't have a little bit of a Saban background, you may need to do a little research while listening to this. But for me, Coach, it makes perfect sense, right? It's a lot of terms I'm very used to. If anybody has any questions, are they able to reach out to you, Coach? You want them DMing you on Twitter? Or you want them to come to me first? What do we want to do here?
Yeah, no, they can do whatever. They can DM me on Twitter. I'll give them my phone number. Doesn't matter to me. I like talking about football. So,
Coach, I love it. Right? We talked briefly getting on, but a lot of the stuff is very familiar. But I'm kind of like you, right? We ran probably more cover 7 quarters than you did, but that was our changeup, right? We ran Ripley's and cover 1 and brought some guys. So very familiar stuff for me, but I love the stuff that you guys are doing with Path. I love that you're able to teach that to high school kids. I always get a little annoyed when people and they say, well, Georgia does this and we can't. Well, there you go. There's Phil, my father, Ryan doing it right there. And I promise you, Georgia runs all 3 of those stunts because I've seen it happen. Yep. So it's a great example, Coach. I loved every minute of it. So I really appreciate you coming on tonight. I thought that was awesome. We get way too many offensive guys too. So I appreciate
I agree. Get them off of here.
I'm trying, Coach. You would be shocked how many defensive guys don't want to come. It's like we think that we're doing something maybe that no one else knows about, or I have no idea. So
yeah, no,
I get tired of talking about my stuff.
It's one, I didn't come up with any of it. If I come up with anything, I guarantee it's never going to work. So it's all out there, and I've had people, fortunately, that have taught me a lot, or I wouldn't know any of it. So without somebody, people have been really nice to me, so I'm more than willing to help out if anybody maybe think I'm stupid and they won't ask me anyway. So that's fine too. But if they do, I'm more than willing to help out if I can.
Yeah, I'm the same place, Coach. I thought once upon a time that we kind of made up something, and then I found out it was just the Big 12 pressures that Kirby and Saban and all those guys. I was like, what if we just bring one guy on the back side and we'll run palms or bracket on the front side and we'll run man on the back? And I was like, this is genius.
Well, you kind of got to give yourself some credit there. If you didn't already see it from them doing it first, that is kind of,
but who knows if I like heard it and it could have been like one
you're
of those
trying to take credit
subconscious
for it, but you already, yeah.
And then I swear it was like a month later, I saw it on Twitter and I was like, I'm such an idiot for thinking I was smart enough to create anything. I was like, you know what? Here's
That's
a humbling experience, Kyle. You're not smart enough to come up with anything. Just keep copying people and trying to make it your own.
That's right. They spend a whole lot more time than me messing it up and getting it right. So I'll trust them.
I'm better off just taking it and adapting it to high school. Maybe not, like you said, like, hey, we're not going to do the fast 3 rule, or hey, we're going to change this. Maybe we don't have 13 different checks. We just have 2 right here. So I think that's a great example. But Coach, appreciate you coming on tonight. If there's anything, the board drill can ever do for you, we loved having you on. So for Kyle here and for Coach Broadrick, we'll see you guys next week. Again, we appreciate you listening. If you got any questions, please reach out. You can reach out to us at the Board Drill Podcast at gmail.com or at Board Drill Pod on Twitter. Appreciate you guys listening tonight. Have a great night.